Hello everyone! I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to step into a quiet week in Jack and Tu Tien's life, where everything finally feels calm, warm, and almost normal. But one short, unopened message at the end of the day makes us wonder, is this peace real or just the calm before another storm? If you enjoy gentle stories filled with emotion and real-life moments like this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next episode. A full week passes without alarms. Not the loud kind, at least, the kind of week that feels unfamiliar after everything they've been through. Mornings arrive quietly, afternoons stretch a little longer. Even the nights seem softer, like they're finally allowed to breathe again. Anna adapts first. By the third morning, she no longer clings to Tu Tien's leg at the preschool gate. She runs toward the playground with her small backpack bouncing against her shoulders, waving once over her shoulder like she's suddenly grown older overnight. The teachers smile when they see her. One of them tells Tu Tien that Anna laughs easily, that she shares her toys, that she likes sitting near the window during story time. Tu Tien listens, nodding, holding her hands together in front of her chest. Every small sentence feels like a gift. When she walks home alone after dropping Anna off, the road feels lighter. She walks at her own pace, breathing in the morning air, noticing details she used to miss, the way sunlight hits the leaves, the sound of a distant motorbike, the smell of bread from a nearby stall. She starts baking regularly again, not in a rush, not out of desperation, just steady. Banana cakes on Monday, steamed cakes on Wednesday, a small batch of cookies on Friday. She sells them at the same corner of the market each afternoon, laying out a clean cloth, arranging everything carefully. The regular customers begin to recognize her. Some ask about her daughter, some ask if she's feeling better now. She answers with a smile that's honest, even if it's careful. Jack watches all of this quietly. He doesn't hover, he doesn't interfere, he simply adjusts. He wakes up earlier to drive Anna to school, then comes home instead of rushing straight to the office. He still works, calls, contracts, planning. But he does it from the dining table, from the porch, from anywhere he can still see the garden. The project with Min Hung hasn't vanished. It's still there, waiting, but for now, it's stable. The inspections are scheduled. The timelines are clear. The pressure hasn't disappeared, but it's no longer screaming in his ear every minute. He learns to pause. On Thursday, he spends half a morning fixing a loose hinge on the gate instead of opening his laptop. On Friday, he helps Tu Tien carry baking trays instead of answering emails right away. No one at the company complains. The world doesn't collapse. That surprises him the most. By the end of the week, even the house feels different. The tension that used to live in the corners, the silence that pressed down on every conversation, is gone. Meals are simple but unhurried. Laughter returns in small bursts, usually because of Anna, who insists on telling long, dramatic stories about things that happened at school, even when no one fully understands what she's describing. Tu Tien listens more than she talks. Jack notices that too. She seems calmer but also thoughtful, like someone relearning how to exist without bracing for impact. On Saturday afternoon, after Anna falls asleep for her nap, Jack and Tu Tien sit together in the garden. The fence they built earlier in the week casts long shadows across the ground. The plants inside it look healthier already, protected, contained. The air is warm but not heavy. Somewhere nearby, a dog barks lazily, not in alarm, just out of habit. Neither of them speaks at first. They sit side by side on the low bench Jack made from leftover wood. Tu Tien rests her hands in her lap. Jack leans forward slightly, elbows on his knees, watching the sky slowly change color. The sun dips lower, painting everything in gold and soft orange. The kind of sunset people usually photograph, but rarely sit still long enough to truly watch. Anna's laughter floats out from inside the house for a moment, even in her sleep. Tu Tien smiles instinctively. Jack notices. "She's happy," he says quietly. "Yes," Tu Tien replies. "She feels safe." The word settles between them. Jack nods. He takes a slow breath, the kind he used to forget to take. His shoulders relax in a way they haven't in months. "Even if trouble comes again," he says after a moment, his voice calm, almost reflective. "I'm glad we had these days." Tu Tien turns to look at him. Her expression isn't dramatic. There are no tears, just a quiet understanding and something like gratitude behind her eyes. "Me too," she says. "I didn't realize how tired I was until things became quiet." Jack glances at her, studying her face. She looks healthier. Not fully recovered maybe, but stronger, more present. "I used to think resting was a waste of time," he admits. "Like if I stopped moving, everything would fall apart." "And now?" Tu Tien asks. "And now I see that sometimes stopping is what keeps things together." She smiles, a small, genuine smile that doesn't try to hide anything. They sit in silence again, watching the sky darken slowly. The garden feels like a separate world, contained, peaceful, untouched by deadlines or threats or unfinished business. For a brief moment, Jack lets himself believe that this could last. Not forever. He's not naive, but long enough. When the sun finally disappears, Tu Tien stands and stretches gently. "I'll start dinner," she says. "You stay here for a bit." Jack nods. "I will." She walks back toward the house, pausing to look back at him once before going inside. Jack remains seated, hands resting on his knees, eyes following the last trace of daylight. Anna wakes up soon after, padding out into the garden, with her hair messy and her eyes still half asleep. She runs in uneven circles, laughing at nothing in particular. Tu Tien watches from the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel, smiling. Jack doesn't move. He just sits there, letting the moment pass through him without grabbing at it. Then his phone vibrates. Once. He looks down at it. A single notification. No name, just a short message preview that doesn't reveal anything yet. He doesn't open it, not right away. Instead, he watches Anna chase her own shadow across the grass. He listens to Tu Tien humming softly as she sets the table inside. He takes one more deep breath, steady and unhurried. Whatever is waiting inside that message can wait a little longer. For now, he chooses to stay exactly where he is. Still. Present. Unrushed. Dinner is simple. Rice, a light soup, a plate of vegetables from the garden, and a small dish of fish Jack picked up earlier in the day. Nothing fancy, nothing rushed. The kind of meal that doesn't ask for attention, but somehow holds everyone together. Anna sits on her small chair, swinging her legs, humming a tune she half learned at school. She eats slowly, distracted by her own thoughts, occasionally looking up to make sure both her parents are still there. Tu Tien watches her with quiet focus, correcting her grip on the spoon once, wiping a bit of rice from her chin. Her movements are gentle, unforced. Jack notices how natural it looks now, how different from the tension she carried not long ago. "Did you play outside today?" Jack asks Anna. "Yes," Anna says proudly. "I ran and I fell, but it didn't hurt." Tu Tien smiles. You told me it hurt a lot. Anna thinks for a second. It hurt a little, then it stopped. Jack laughs softly. That's good. The conversation drifts easily after that. School, cakes sold at the market, a neighbor who waved too enthusiastically. Nothing heavy, nothing sharp. Jack doesn't mention the phone message. It sits in his pocket like a weight he's chosen not to feel yet. After dinner, Anna insists on helping wash the vegetables, splashing more water onto the floor than into the sink. Tu Tien lets her, handing her a cloth afterwards so she can clean, which mostly means spreading water around. Jack leans against the doorway, watching the two of them. This is the picture he used to imagine during the worst nights, when fear sat on his chest and sleep wouldn't come. This, right here. Later, when Anna finally gets tired and curls up on the mat with her favorite stuffed toy, Jack carries her to bed. She murmurs something unintelligible, then relaxes completely, trusting the arms that hold her. Jack tucks the blanket around her carefully, adjusting it twice, even though it's already fine. Tu Tien stands in the doorway, arms crossed loosely, watching. She's growing fast, she says quietly. Jack nods. Sometimes I feel like if I blink, I'll miss it. You won't, Tu Tien replies. You're paying attention now. That lands deeper than she probably intends. They step out of the room together and close the doors softly behind them. The house settles into night. Tu Tien pours 2 cups of warm tea and brings them out to the porch. They sit side by side again, the garden now darker, the fence barely visible except where moonlight touches it. Jack takes a sip, then exhales slowly. Do you ever worry that when things are calm, it's just the world catching its breath? He asks. Tu Tien thinks for a moment. Sometimes. But I don't think calm is a trick. I think it's something we're allowed to have, even if it doesn't last forever. Jack looks at her. You sound sure. I'm not, she says honestly. But I'm tired of being afraid of every good moment. He nods. Me too. They sit in silence again, the kind that doesn't demand to be filled. Then Jack's phone vibrates. Again. This time, Tu Tien notices. She doesn't say anything right away. She just looks at him, reading his face. You can check it, she says gently. I won't break. Jack hesitates. He reaches into his pocket and pulls the phone out, holding it loosely in his hand. The screen lights up. The message is still there, unopened. He looks at Tu Tien. What if it's bad? Then it's bad, she replies, and we deal with it, together. Jack studies her face, searching for any trace of fear she might be hiding. He finds none, just steadiness. He nods once and opens the message. It's short, no name, no number he recognizes, just a single line. Quiet weeks don't mean the storm has passed. Jack's jaw tightens slightly. He doesn't show the phone to Tu Tien right away. Instead, he locks the screen and places it face down on the table between them. What is it? She asks. Nothing urgent, he says after a moment. Not yet. She studies him, then nods. Then don't let it steal tonight. Jack wants to believe that's possible. They finish their tea. Tu Tien goes inside to wash the cups. Jack stays behind, staring out into the garden, replaying the message in his head. Quiet weeks don't mean the storm has passed. He knows that. Of course he does. But something about seeing the words written so plainly unsettles him more than threats ever did. Inside, Tu Tien moves slowly, methodically. She washes the cups, dries them, sets them in their place. Everything has its order. Everything is where it should be. She pauses at the sink, resting her hands on the counter, breathing evenly. For a moment, a familiar wave of fatigue brushes against her. Not overwhelming, just a reminder. She closes her eyes and lets it pass. "I'm okay," she murmurs to herself. "I really am." Jack joins her a minute later, wrapping his arms around her from behind. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. She leans back into him, resting her head against his chest. "Promise me something," she says quietly. "Anything," he replies. "If things get difficult again," she says, choosing her words carefully. "Don't shut down. Don't carry it alone." Jack tightens his arms slightly. "I promise." She turns in his embrace and looks up at him. "And I'll promise not to pretend I'm fine when I'm not." He smiles faintly. "That's a good deal." They stand like that for a moment longer, then turn off the lights and head to bed. The house grows quiet again, but sleep doesn't come easily for Jack. He lies on his back, staring at the ceiling, listening to Tu Tien's breathing beside him. It's steady, calm, real. His phone rests on the nightstand. He doesn't pick it up again. Instead, he lets his thoughts drift, not to the message, not to potential enemies, not to unfinished business, but to the fence they built, the cakes Tu Tien sold, the way Anna waved goodbye at school without looking back. Progress doesn't always announce itself, he realizes. Sometimes it just exists quietly, waiting for you to notice. Morning arrives gently. Sunlight filters through the curtains. Anna's voice floats down the hallway, talking to herself as she wakes up. Tu Tien stirs beside him. Jack turns his head and looks at her, really looks, at the woman who's endured too much and still chooses to smile, who fears but doesn't run, who asks him to stay present, not perfect. Whatever is coming next, whatever that message truly means, he knows this much. He's not standing at the edge anymore. He is inside his life again. And when the storm comes, if it comes, it will have to find him here, awake, grounded, and no longer willing to sacrifice what matters most just to outrun fear. Jack reaches over and takes Tu Tien's hand, intertwining their fingers. She squeezes back, still half asleep. Outside, the garden waits. Inside, their world holds, for now. After a long period of tension and uncertainty, a quiet and peaceful week finally settles over Jack and Tu Tien's small family. Anna gradually adapts to preschool, laughing and playing more confidently each day. Tu Tien's homemade cakes begin selling steadily at the market, giving her a renewed sense of purpose and stability. Jack slowly regains his work rhythm, no longer rushing, no longer consumed by constant worry. One gentle afternoon, the couple sits together in the garden, watching the sunset paint the sky, appreciating the rare calm they've been given. Jack softly admits that even if trouble returns someday, these simple, ordinary days are something he will always be grateful for. The episode ends with everyday images of warmth and life, Anna running freely, Tu Tien smiling, Jack sitting quietly at peace until a single, unread message appears on Jack's phone, subtly reminding us that calm may not last forever.